I don't know if you knew this, but Ukraine is a country that exists next to a more powerful country called Russia. And Russia invaded Ukraine. I didn't know that. And that's basically bad. But it's not just bad for Ukrainians, it's bad for the dollar. The dollar might go the way of the fidget spinner, so last year. My name's Eric. This is above my pay grade. Let's get into it. All right, y'all. You've probably heard about Russia and Ukraine all over the news. You might have also heard about how the dollar is affected by Russia and Ukraine. So I want to go over a brief history of what brought us up to today and why the world is changing before our eyes. All right? So, again, this is very condensed, but kind of put into context where we are today. So in 1944, during the Bretton Woods Agreement, the world agreed that the dollar would be the world reserve currency because we had the most gold, and the dollar was a certificate of gold, essentially. So if people had dollars, they could redeem them for gold, and people would use this for trade, as a form of trade, but it would be the world reserve currency. Often things would be settled in dollars, aka gold. Through this, you guys have probably heard of the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF. That's where the IMF started. But after 1944, we got a little greedy, started printing too much dollars. And in 1971, a lot of countries wanted gold. They wanted to redeem their dollars for gold. And Nixon, because of that, took us off the gold standard in 1971. Countries, so these are the second and third order effects. Countries could no longer redeem their dollars for gold. Central banks could now manipulate variables. Because if currency is backed in gold, they need more gold to manipulate the currency, if that makes sense. But if your currency is backed by nothing, aka the dollar today, you can manipulate a lot more variables, hence the Federal Reserve today. And why we have booms and busts, or a lot more booms and busts than we would if our currency was actually backed by something and not manipulated. So currency started being manipulated. Central banks could now do that. However, from 1971, we still had what was called the petrodollar. And in layman's terms, what this means is most fuel around the world, natural gas, is settled in dollars. So if country A, that's not the United States, let's say Brazil wanted to buy fuel from Saudi Arabia, instead of their native currencies, they would settle that transaction and trade their native currencies for dollars. And that causes a demand for dollars outside the United States. Just keep that in mind. Also, there's two sides to every purchase, right? So if the US and other countries are using the dollar for fuel, guess who controls the dollar or the price of the dollar? The US. So knock-on effects, they kind of control the price of oil and energy around the world because they control the price of the dollar. What this has done, and the fact that there's demand for dollars around the world, long story short, it has allowed Americans to consume far more than we produce as a country. Think about it. If you've been to other countries, they produce stuff. We don't produce anything. We produce TikTok stars, Uber drivers, but consumable items, because the dollar's manipulated a lot of factors, but we basically shipped all our jobs, all our production to other people, and we consume everything. So we're consumer economy, run off debt. All of this from that, right? So where are we at today? So from 2010 to now, Putin and Xi, Putin, Russia, Xi, China, have expressed their desire to get off of this system, this demand for dollars, because we can control since we can control the price of the dollar, control the price of energy, right? So they want a neutral currency. Supposedly the dollar is a neutral currency, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But they want more control of the price of energy in their countries. So everything changed this year, right? Everything changed this year. In February 2022, the US seized Russian reserve dollars from the IMF. So essentially, remember, dollar is the petrodollar. That means a lot of countries save in dollars because it's used for international trade. In the United States, they took that neutral currency of the dollar and they said, you can no longer use it. In fact, we're taking yours. So what would you do if your bank said you can no longer use the currency that you're storing in this bank? You probably either go to another bank or, in Putin's case, use a different currency, which this didn't just alert, Putin's not just the only one watching this, other countries are too. So if they can do it to Putin, they can do it to Xi, they can do it to a lot of countries, right? So the dollar was no longer neutral, meaning they weaponized the dollar against Putin, which means they can weaponize it against other countries, which means they're taking notes and wanting to get off the dollar, okay? So now, if you've heard in the news, Russian fuel is priced in rubles, gold, and he's even mentioned Bitcoin, but it's not dollars, okay? And I'll put up a chart here. The ruble went down when we sanctioned him, and as soon as he mentioned that oil's priced in rubles, the ruble went back up, right? And they also mentioned it was going to be gold backed, etc. So why is this important? Okay, I watched a George Gammon video today, and he said we're living in fantasy land, and I can't agree more with him. At the end of the day, we can virtue signal our way to the ESG movement, but that doesn't heat your home. That doesn't put fuel in your car to get to work. That doesn't run the lights, etc. So at the end of the day, it's not really currency as much as it is energy. So our main export to the world has been dollars. We don't export stuff. We don't we do export some ideas, but China just steals those illegally. Like if we come out with the technology, China just intellectual property, they don't care. They'll just take it, right? So what really matters at the end of the day is not the currency. It's stuff and energy. We need stuff, right? If you went to the grocery store and just look, where you go shopping, where stuff is made, it's not here. It's not here. So the world is realizing they don't need dollars. But if the world doesn't need dollars, that doesn't change the fact that we need stuff and energy, if that makes sense. And because the dollar was backing oil and natural gas, we've had a lot of power from that. But what happens if that demand for dollars around the world goes away? All those dollars come back to the United States, more inflation, and we do not have the bargaining chip that we did before. So in the United States, we're gonna have to start producing and exporting stuff and energy. And we can pretend that we live in a world where our heater is run on unicorn farts, but at the end of the day, that means you're freezing to death in the wintertime. That's what it means. So if we're playing, we need to know the game we're playing. If Putin is playing chess and we're playing checkers, we're gonna lose. We're gonna lose. And he has the bargaining chip because he has the energy. And his friend, China, has our stuff. They make all of our stuff. So if we no longer control the price of energy because we control the dollar, and other countries around the world are now going to solve their energy problem by using a different currency besides the dollar, our power around the world goes down, and prices of stuff and energy go way up for us. So I hope this made sense. It's kind of short, but hope it made sense of what's going on and why Russia affects the dollar. And I think we're going to see higher inflation and less stuff in the United States because of it. Please like and subscribe, share with friends if they don't understand this concept. I'll see you in the next video.